Before configuring NIT static source tracing, let's talk about what is NIT static source tracing. NIT selects public IP addresses in an address pool and assigns the public IP addresses to private network packets. If user packets need to be traced, the NIT device must be able to send source tracing logs. NIT static source tracing requires no NIT device to send source tracing logs to complete user source tracing. The static source tracing algorithm contains a set of formulas. The input is a private network IP address range, a public IP address range, a port range size, and a port range. The output is the one-to-one mapping between the private IP addresses and a set of public IP addresses and a port range. With this algorithm, NIT is performed based on fixed mapping between the private IP addresses and a set of public IP addresses and a port range. An NE that is to perform NIT source tracing must obtain source tracing parameters the same as those configured on a NIT device, without receiving source tracing logs sent by the NIT device. As shown in the implementation diagram for NIT static source tracing, a private IP address is mapped to a public IP address and a port range. The public IP address and port number can be used to find the corresponding private IP address. Next, let's look at the networking requirements for NIT static source tracing. As shown in the figure, computers on a company's private network are connected to a BRAS through a CPE. The BRAS is connected to a radius server. A CR is connected to a public IPv4 network through the NIT device. Interface 1 of the NIT device is connected to the CR. The enterprise is assigned 10 public IP address prefixes, 11.11.11.1 through 11.11.11.10, with a mask length of 24. After the configuration, computers with a network segment address of 10.0.0.0 and mask length of 24 can access the Internet, and computers on the other network segments cannot. Configure a VSM-HA service instance group and a NIT instance named NAT1. Then run the service instance group command in the NIT instance view to bind the VSM-HA service instance group to the NIT instance. In this way, the NIT instance is associated with the service board. Next, configure a group of static source tracing parameters, including a private IP address pool, a public IP address pool, a port range, and a port block size. Bind the static source tracing algorithm to the NIT instance named NIT1, so that the mapping between the private and public IP addresses of the static source tracing algorithm is applied to the NIT instance. Configure a traffic classification rule and a NIT behavior. This step contains 5 substeps. 1. Configure an ACL-based traffic classification rule. Only the host whose internal network segment address is 10.0.0.0 and the subnet mask length is 24 can access Internet. 2. Configure a traffic classifier and define an ACL-based match rule. 3. Configure a traffic behavior named B1 and bind it to the NIT instance named NIT1. 4. Define a traffic policy to associate the ACL rule and behavior. 5. Apply the NIT traffic diversion policy to interface 1.